Good evening and welcome to Binging the Force, a Star Wars rewatch podcast with the Rocky Mountain Fan Force. My name is Dale. Tonight's episode is The Mandalorian Chapter 15, The Believer, which is the first episode to not be featuring a very important character. But more on that in just a moment. To break it all down, we've got a great group to review tonight's episode. We've got James.
Hey, guys.
Down here, we've got Jonathan.
Hello, I'm back.
And, of course, we've got Michael.
Hello again.
All right, guys. I am coming to you live from outside the Rocky Mountain region. I'm in lovely Seattle, where it was sunny, and then it did rain, which I think happens every time I've been here. Yes. But enough about Earth weather. Let's talk about Galaxy Far, Far Away, where the weather that we see in this episode is pretty boring, I guess. But something that's not boring is this show, The Mandalorian, which introduced us to this great character, Grogu, aka the child, aka the asset, aka sweet baby Yoda. Tonight's chapter is the first part in the Mando story that does not feature Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda was, the biggest thing to ever happen to Star Wars probably since 1977, and a huge part of this show's success. Do you think, knowing what you now know, can the show be a success without Baby Yoda? If you took him out of the picture, could it just be Din or Bo-Katan, or some other faceless person in a suit? Could they carry the series? What do you think?
Well, the weather for this episode is 0% chance of Baby Yoda. So, yeah, I get your question, and it's a good one. I remember I had the opportunity to go to Star Wars Celebration, and I was there for the panel when they were talking to the cast of The Mandalorian, and they were introducing concept for the show. Of course, they didn't want to talk anything about spoilers, right? So the questions were just very general. And, they had the actors up on stage. And, I was like, cool, this looks pretty good. Yeah, I could get on board with this. Because they're just talking about, there's Mandos, it's Western themed. I was like, cool, I agree with this kind of, Star Wars. That sounds good. And then we saw the trailer. And I'm like, yeah, look at this laser blast. And, ooh, cool, he's got that rifle from the holiday special. All these kind of cool insider things, and the environments look really, really cool. And I'm like, yeah, I could get on board with this Star Wars thing, right? I mean, I was already on board, of course, but this just made it even more fun, knowing that it'd be digging into those Western influences for this show. But at the end of that first episode, you see that little hand, that little finger come up out of that crib. I mean, come on. Star Wars and pop culture hearts melted immediately. And they needed to get Grogu stuff on the shelves immediately. The fan art started coming back. All the pop culture fan sites went crazy. Baby Yoda this, Baby Yoda that. So I'm going to take maybe a controversial stance here and say no. They need to call this show Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, Grogu, in order for it to accurately show what this show is about. Maybe even switch the two.
All right.
The Grogu and Din show.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, they did that with the Real Ghostbusters animated series back in the 80s, where it started off, it was the Real Ghostbusters, but then it became Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, where it's like, who are we tuning in for? Is it really these four dudes, or you just want to see the Slimer show? Come on.
Yeah, you want to see the antics of Slimer. So we want to see the antics of Baby Yoda here.
Exactly.
I mean, there's definitely a tradition of that in television where, a non-lead character ends up becoming the focus of the show based on popularity. I mean, we go back to Happy Days in the 70s, where it was supposed to be about the family, it was supposed to be about Richie, and then Fonzie became a phenomenon. And then it became, I believe in syndication at one point, it was even listed as Fonzie's Happy Days, was kind of the retitling for some syndication for some repeats of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, You know, could the show have worked without Grogu? Yes, but it would not have been the show that it became. It would not have been the phenomenon it became. It would not have brought in a whole new set of, you know, fans for Star Wars. I don't know if it would have ignited Disney Plus in the way that it did. I mean, would Disney Plus overall as a streaming service have been as successful if, you know, if that multi-generational, you know, fans had not clued into it the way they did? You know, that is exactly what Disney was going for in terms of the Disney brand, and, you know, doing stuff that could work for young people and different age groups simultaneously. It really just hit all those notes. I mean, you know, the show could have worked, but it would have worked more at the level of a Clone Wars, more at the level of a Rebels. It would have satisfied fans, existing fans of the franchise, but I don't know that it would have exploded as a pop culture phenomenon the way it did without Grogu.
Yeah, I think I would actually probably agree with Jonathan to a certain degree. I think the story is both about Grogu and the Mandalorians' relationship and what they go through together. It's really almost really about separate stories about Grogu and the Mandalorian. Of course, you know, Din Djarin's kind of journey to figure out what it is to be a Mandalorian, etc. But it's also part of Baby Yoda's journey to maybe becoming a Jedi, those type of things. So I don't know if you could have, you know, exclude Grogu from this particular story, because I think they're really intertwined.
Yeah, and look at, I mean, we haven't started talking about them yet, but look at like the season 3 episodes, right? Those start to focus more on the Mandalorians, more with their culture, them as a like a family and institution, going from cult to more of a starting to become a force in the galaxy. And so in those episodes, you start to see a little less of the focus is on Grogu, more of it is on Bo-Katan. And I think pop culture in general has not responded as well to season 3. They want to be fed more of the same until they turn on you and hate it, because all you're giving them is more of the same.
Yeah.
So I think we got that in season 2. You got more of awesome Grogu action, but it's okay to take a breather, because I think that gives you the opportunity to appreciate what they've created even more.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it more in the earlier episodes of the first season, that really what they were going for was a lone wolf and cub story, that the story that they were telling, that the story of Din Djarin is the story of him with this young child and having the relationship between them. You know, could they have told a different story with these same characters? Yes, but it wouldn't have been the same story that was being told. You know, and then definitely the first 2 seasons, like you said, it kind of shifts a little bit into the 3rd season, you know, and Book of Boba Fett, but definitely in the first 2 seasons, it's lone wolf and cub. It's the story of a wandering samurai, you know, and his child charge, you know, that is following him everywhere.
Yeah, and especially those first 2 seasons, it really is about their relationship. You know, Grogu gets kidnapped, and Djarin's got to go. The Mandalorian's got to go rescue him. I just don't think you can separate the two, and I think it brought in a lot of people. Maybe with Grogu's a little bit of cuteness, maybe the fact just their relationship and how it developed. It was very, I don't know, it was just a nice development, I guess, and people really kind of just got hooked into it. Brought them into the Star Wars universe again, something that kind of hadn't really, pop culture had really brought in people for a long time. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, it got my wife to watch it, which she's a casual Star Wars fan. You know, and she was very excited. She really enjoyed watching season 1 and 2, and then she kind of lost interest in 3 when it kind of went a little different direction, kind of like, you know, what Jonathan talked about.
And you know what? It's also like an easy thing to love as a fan, right? Like, you've never heard anybody saying, "Well, I hate Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. How dare they put together a show where they have this father type figure and this child type figure connecting and figuring things out on their own as they make their way through the galaxy and learn to grow together." You know, nobody says. Everybody, if they've watched these episodes, it's a universal relationship. It's a universal story archetype. And it's a trope for a reason, because we love it, because we can connect with it, and because you're rooting for them. I mean, if you ever see when one of the episodes, right? So like Quill gets killed, and the stormtroopers take Baby Yoda. Like everybody who's watching that episode, like their hackles go up, and they're like, "How dare you punch Baby Yoda? I will take you out, stormtroopers." So there's an instant love and protectiveness that you have for these characters that you may not even get in some of the original trilogy. Like you may love Luke and Leia and Han, but you don't have that same kind of connection with them and rooting for them, and you want to learn more on the same level, I feel, as Mando and Grogu. Like that could be your Star Wars, and you love those characters. You played with action figures growing up. You may see yourself in them, but this is a different thing that like caught everybody's imagination.
I think the prequels get a lot of flack for people that were like, oh, that's just an excuse to sell more Star Wars toys. And what's so funny about this series is there was like no merch for the show when it first came out, because they were just really keeping everything under wraps. I mean, since that point, yes, every retailer's been bombarded with Baby Yoda face on, this or that, but
everything.
But when it started, it wasn't about, oh, this is just like a merchandising pull. It's like, oh, this is some good storytelling here. And the cutout of Baby Yoda's head, that just kind of became a symbol for the show, just as much as Mando's helmet.
To answer your question, Dale, still no.
I would dispute that the biggest thing since 1977. I would say the prequels did bring in a whole nother generation. I mean, as we've talked before, just because it didn't work for us doesn't mean it didn't. That there's a whole younger generation that's their Star Wars.
Well, it worked for me. I love Senate talk, so
Sorry, James.
Great dispute. Yes.
All right, so let's see this episode and see if we even notice there's no little green guys running around on screen.
Yeah, I mean, there's more than enough other stuff coming in. We have a lot of returning characters, and we've got a very action-packed, intense story here. And with some returning characters who all kind of tie together multiple storylines again, as they've done a couple of times here. So
rock and roll.
Take it away.
Oh, someone has something that someone wants.
We've got to break our hearts again by seeing them destroy the Razor Crest.
These dark troopers are
something I want.
Pretty cool.
The child is gone.
I think we get to see that clip on at least a handful of episodes, as far as the recap goes. They're like, this speech by Moff Gideon is great. We've got to show it.
Yes.
But so, we set up like all the kind of convergent storylines, we go back to, some of the other characters. We go back to the heist episode. I'm like, okay, why are we seeing Bill Burr again? We'll find out in a minute here. We go back to the building of the character list of Boba Fett now coming back in.
When that episode ended, I mean, some of those guys got blown up, but the ones left in jail, I just assumed their story was done. It didn't really seem like we'd see him again.
I'm glad they did, though, because he's one of my favorite characters. I love this guy.
Yes. And you don't even mind that he's from, space Boston and clearly a Boston guy.
He's from the south side of the galaxy, okay?
Right.
Hey, what you talking about?
That's Brooklyn. That's not me.
Okay.
So I like the opening of this episode. It's cool to start with the junkyard. You get to see lots of fun Easter eggs, and you're like, oh yeah, those are those things from that thing. Like on the
TIE fighter.
Right? It looks like they just chopped the top off.
Yeah.
Made him functional for a junkyard robot there.
Yeah. I love this this droid is so polite. Clearly he's a New Republic droid, right?
Right.
You'll enjoy your time in jail.
Yes.
It's a funny thing though to see this, live action, scrap heap of, ships, and because they get blown up all the time. It's like, well, where did all the parts go?
Yeah, I know. Like
He
anything.
doesn't have a name. He only has a number. Inmate 34667. Or is that you, James?
That'd be a good trivia question right there.
Are they about to break out in song here? It feels like
Marshall
a
Dune.
song.
It's no longer. It's not even Cara Dune. It's Marshall Dune.
Oh.
Please follow Marshall Dune to transport.
Yeah, he's
Like,
so in the dark here. He's like,
he's like, what the heck is going on here? Why are you letting me go? Why is she
Well, in a
taking
galaxy far, far away, you never know what's going to happen. So
She's mean. She'll beat me up or something. Please don't take me. Don't let her take me.
right. I feel like there's several points in this episode where he's like, am I just going to get killed now? Like, someone going to turn on me?
Or maybe think he's going to get interrogated or something.
I like seeing in the
Imperial
junkyard,
style.
like TIE fighters and pieces. That's
I mean,
pretty
Slave One kind of looks right at home there.
cool. Right? Good point.
But look at Boba Fett's new outfit, man.
You got a paint job.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
the armor's been all repaired. He's got a new kind of
His old
black
buddy
underneath instead of the kind of tan underneath. It's Boba Fett. The bad mofo we always dreamed of.
Yeah, he's just his armor doesn't look weathered and beaten, right? Like he's ready for some new action.
The helmet's no longer dented.
Right, they filled that in,
He
buffed
took
it
it
out.
in for some PDR.
He got a new paint job. Yeah.
Well, do you agree? Do you think he should have? What does that say about his character?
He's reinventing himself or something, maybe, or I don't know.
New lease on life?
Because he is. Yeah, he went through an experience, right? That we find out.
Yeah.
True that.
He got a good tax
Life-changing experience.
refund, so he's putting the money into the new paint job.
Like buying a new car.
Yeah, it's been a tough 6 years or so for Boba Fett.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
But his armor's not made of Beskar, right? Just regular armor?
No, I think it's Beskar.
Well, that's
isn't it?
Beskar. I mean,
It's Beskar.
yeah, the armor is Beskar, so that's
It
why.
wouldn't have survived the Sarlacc pit.
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
Yep.
good point. Yeah, Migs is really thinking it over here. Like, was I better off in the battlefield?
Was hard labor a better choice than what I'm looking at now?
Right.
He knows these guys are up to no good. They're doing something.
And technically, it's a heist, so he was the right guy to call on. I mean, they've got a plan. The idea is they've got to get information about Moff Gideon, and the point is that he was a former Imperial, and so he knows how to get access to information in an Imperial base and find out where Moff Gideon is, so that they can hunt the child down. That's the mission now. The heist is recapture the child.
Yeah, yeah. We've never seen this interior of the Slave One. I really like that, because it's like, is it windows or is it screens that simulate the outside?
It's like things rotated, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of strange, little disorienting.
Yeah,
Has a very open floor plan.
right, because it seems like there's the big windows in the cockpit where Boba's sitting, but then other than that, it just is all cargo space from what we've seen in the past.
Nice open floor plan. Got some shiplap on the walls. I like it.
Nice windows. It's a nice office space.
It's an open space. Yeah. We got enough room for all these people to walk around in it, right? Doesn't look like it from the outside, but it's bigger on the inside, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think they actually do make a reference to office space in this. You'll see it later. I caught it actually. You know what I'm talking about, Dale?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I've got that in my notes. It's pretty ridiculous if you
kind
think
of
about
funny.
it. But so the planet they're going to, Morag, is a new location for this episode. Not to be confused, or no, or is it more? It's Morak.
Morak, yeah.
Morag is like this evil sorceress lady from the Ewoks. That name was taken, so it's Morak. Yes. But it looks nice, little jungle.
It does still have the dent. I guess
it looks like Hawaii or something.
It has to still be the dented helmet, because I know that there's a whole fan stuff around that.
Right.
And obviously, in Star Wars, the whole planet is one biome, right? It's jungle here, it's jungle everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why they do that in Star Wars. Maybe to simplify it or something.
Yeah,
Make it a
easy
more
to recognize.
smaller environment, so you don't have to explain the entire planet.
Yeah. I heard the new Star Wars Outlaws game, video game, is going to be set on Tatooine because
Of course.
why
Of
not?
course.
Why not? You
like
like playing in the sand, right?
I like Boba Fett's line there. They might recognize my face. True that.
That's a
Yeah.
His face is everywhere.
Yeah, if they'd ever seen a stormtrooper without a helmet, then they know his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'll be curious to see if there are any old clones showing up in the Ahsoka series or further down the line in this
That would be
series
cool. That would be cool.
because I mean they got to be old, because
Mhm.
Boba Fett was not modified to be doing that double aging thing.
Yeah.
So if they're around, they've got to be looking real old compared to him.
Do these stormtroopers, that armor looks familiar. Was that in Solo, maybe, or is it something new?
Is that Rogue One? Maybe it is Solo. Yeah.
One.
It's similar to the range trooper armor from Solo.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But the volatile rhydonium, the volatile fuel for the ships, that is different from Solo. That was something else. But
Something
rhydonium
more-
they used they used it in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Pyrenium or
Gross.
something.
Gloves are still wet.
More volatile than what these guys are hauling, but still, this is pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
I love this.
Plot needs it to be dangerous.
Of course. I love this transport, though. It's pretty cool. It'd be a pretty cool toy to get.
Yes.
It's not
Right,
based on a
with the
toy.
dress.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah, it could be.
It's similar to like
It is Star
like
Wars,
the
actually.
turbo tank or like the Juggernaut tank.
Yeah.
A little bit different design because it doesn't look like it's made for troops. It's more of a a tanker you'd see going down the highway. So
Yeah,
Maybe they can modify them for dual use or something.
very functional.
it's funny.
He is. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny how easily it seems like they took over because like that's a plot point here in a moment. Like these tankers getting hijacked. It's like shoot, I feel like they just jumped right in there.
Their security is a little lax here.
Well, I mean, Boba Fett's ship flew straight in, right? They didn't trip any planet-wide ship
Yeah.
alarms. So
As always, the
Inconvenient that,
Imperials are incompetent.
That they're able to go in there, with in helmeted, camouflage, so that Din can still be helmeted here.
yeah,
Yeah, of course, he's taking his off, and Din's not going to do that.
Mhm.
Right.
Didn't they use the same strategy in Wizard of Oz when they went into the castle and they were dressed like the guards, but except it was a lion, a tin man, and a scarecrow.
Right, and you could clearly tell it wasn't the regular guards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know how these uniforms always fit too. That's interesting.
one size fits all.
Don't you have really short guys and really tall guys?
Aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?
Yeah.
They're stretchy. They just might be wet for some reason.
That's why it's able to stretch. Yeah.
Yeah, he's all having conversation about helmets and
Yeah, he's really poking at the Mandalorian.
yeah, he's really pushing on the whole put your
he's-
helmet on the whole time thing.
I kind of like this character. He definitely is very cantankerous and
Well,
Kind
it's
of a
two
jerk,
things for
but-
Mando, right? Like Mando's not a great conversationalist in the first place, and second, like he put this dude in prison before. Now he's got to break him out, so it probably still rankles a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and he was in that season 1 episode, he was badgering him about the helmet thing. And that was before, they had their, turned against each other and
Yeah,
Mando put him in jail.
yeah. You do what you got to do to save Baby Yoda.
So
Yeah.
one thing they mentioned before they decided that Mando was going to go in, they mentioned the ISB, but they say it very casually. It's Imperial Security Bureau,
that's
which
in
is-
Andor, right? Is
Yes.
that yes? Yeah.
It's like a task force or
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It's kind of separate
the
from the
Empire.
military. It's like the CIA or Like it's an intelligence agency.
Like,
It's not part of the
internal
military or
affairs.
something. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's been a part of like Star Wars novels for a long time. So it's good to hear, that reference.
Yeah.
I liked his point there about the villagers as they're passing by. Imperials, New Republic, it's all the same to them. It's people who have
Yeah, it is.
who have invaded their planet and taken over
Yeah.
their land. I mean, that's it's all the same to them.
Just a battleground, and they're sick of being the
Yeah,
battleground.
but for me, that argument never rings true. Like, it's not just the fact that there's a government in place, one comes in and takes over for the other one. It's how the government is run. It's the intent. It's the morals. It's how they treat their people. So, like, if you just keep your head down, right, like Jyn Erso says, doesn't matter. But it does. It does matter because you do see a difference in how people are treated. Sure, it may not be obvious in the short term, but in the long term, like how does your government or your troops, your military treat your average citizens? I think there's a huge difference here. And I mean, Migs is just being flippant, but at least the point does seem to come up a lot in Star Wars, it seems like.
Right. Yeah, you wonder if if these tanks stopped in that village and gave the kids lollipops or a fruit basket or something like that, if they would be that hostile towards them. Or obviously there's a reason that we see these marauders here or pirates or whatever coming up, is that there's some hostileness there that they don't want them there.
Yeah. I think in Star Wars, though, there is a lot of, sometimes there's planets and systems that they don't want to be part of the Republic either. They want to be left alone, right? And
Yeah, Dale, were you suggesting a strategy of winning hearts and minds there?
yeah,
Well, sometimes
doesn't always work.
Yeah, I mean, from what we can see, there's some mining happening. We don't know who's doing the mining. If it's the natives that are doing the mining, and then are these ISB guys just stealing the fuel from them? We don't know all the steps of it, but it seems like they just set up shop here, and the locals don't care for it.
And here you've got the irony of them having captured this transport, and now the transport's being attacked by pirates. So it's kind of a double takeover on the transport here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best laid plans, right? Doesn't always work out.
Pretty good action, and this is pretty good action, considering they didn't build a ton of physical sets, right? I think maybe they did some actual physical sets for like the top of the transport and stuff, and the fighting scenes and stuff. It was cool.
Right. It definitely has a sense of motion to it.
Again, a little bit bigger, a little bit more scale to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm rooting for these guys, right? The people in the ships, they're
their road eating,
pirates, but at least they're fighting against the Empire, right? So I'm on their side.
Yeah.
But I'm also rooting for Mando, so I don't know who to root for.
If one of them looked like Hondo Anaka or Jack Sparrow, you'd be cheering for them right now.
That's right.
Ooh, there's a bump. So the little screen there that showed, most of the time it's green, but it flashed to red earlier for the Rhydonium condition. In case you were wondering, it says warning in all big caps.
Is that what the basic says? Gotcha.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because in the plot here, the idea is it has to stay at a specific temperature, right? Or it starts blowing up.
It's speed in Star Wars.
Speed, yeah, okay.
Jarring, it's like nitroglycerin or something.
Well, sounds like a good video game plot.
Yeah.
Keep it in the green or you blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why these guys don't change their tactics. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
these pirates are not very smart. They don't change their tactics.
Yeah.
And I always find it hard to believe that one guy could beat up all these guys. He is the Mandalore, but
he's
he
our
doesn't
hero.
have any of his gadgets.
It's not one guy. It's the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I know.
But he's not in his armor, so he doesn't have that going for him. So
I know he doesn't have all his Batman tricks and stuff.
That just shows how much of a badass he is. He's still a good fighter.
He's good at hand-to-hand combat.
Even in someone else's wet helmet, he can still. he does like some fun, like wrestling kind of moves on top of this tank.
Oh, it's not looking good for our heroes.
Oh no.
A thermal detonator.
Guess who comes to the rescue?
There's some good action scenes.
Yeah, they had some pretty good stunt work here.
Right?
Definitely.
Oh, nice shot.
That guy looks so surprised. Like, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, like
What's with this Imperial? Right.
I think these scenes here are using the stunt doubles, Brandon Wayne and Lateef Crowder. But I feel like the scene right when Mando put on this new outfit, I feel like that was actually Pedro Pascal walking, because I feel like the walk was not like this big tough guy walk. I feel like it was just some dude in foreign clothing. I don't know.
I don't know.
I like his little laying down sigh when he sees they've all got thermal detonators. They're coming for him. He's like,
what do I do
I'd
now?
venture to say anytime we don't see Pedro Pascal's face, it's probably not Pedro Pascal, because they didn't want to pay him to have to be on the set.
Right.
See, the Imperials are, competent. They can blow stuff up when they need to. They saved them there.
And so now we've got 2 female sharpshooters here, Cara Dune and Fennic
yay,
Shand.
Imperials.
Yeah, where was this escort earlier? All this security earlier? It's like, come on, guys.
The TIE fighter pilots were.
So stormtroopers can actually
pirates or
hit.
something.
They can hit pirates.
Yeah, no,
Right.
they can't hit
Not
anybody else.
believable.
So it's like extras can hit lesser extras.
Yes, unless they're only Ewok scale, and then
Yes.
they just shoot right over the top.
Yes. Too short.
They made it. Yippee.
Good job.
Yeah, saluting stormtroopers. This is a new experience.
Right? These guys should get a raise or something here. They did good.
I think they're just kind of surprised they got through.
I'm going to go with
The
the
other ones
headcanon.
didn't.
I'm going to go with headcanon and say none of the stormtroopers actually hit a pirate. That it was Cara Dune and Fennic Shand who actually hit all of them.
Shot
They're the
him
ones who
for 'em.
fired from up there, and they're the ones who actually hit the pirates. Every stormtrooper missed.
Yeah, we don't want
That's
to.
awesome.
We don't want to put the Imperials in a good light.
Is this like I'm just trying to think, like the most from the point of view of the Empire that we've seen.
I
Like
think
I'm
so.
trying to think of another movie or TV show where we've really looked at things through the point of view of the Empire. So,
Not till
So-
Andor, I think.
Yes, Solo a little bit, right? When they're fighting in that planet and stuff.
Yeah, good point.
The mud scuffers.
Right, that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, and in Andor, there's quite a bit of the Imperial perspective,
Yeah.
but not necessarily our heroes embedded with the Imperials. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
In the original trilogy, it was more just whenever Vader had like FaceTime meetings with people and choking people out.
yeah. You'd have to go to the books, actually. That's one thing I like about the books is they give a little more of the Imperial side.
The
So,
other side, yeah.
yeah.
I think that's so funny how Migs just like he sees his old office commanding officer and then
Yeah.
just does a
Yeah.
180. It's like, dude,
I'm
that was
out,
pretty
man.
damn obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much for acting like you belong. That's the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
they're
then we
still
get
obvious.
into a Kobayashi Maru kind of situation for our Mandalorian hero here.
oh yeah,
The only way to get the information he needs in order to try to save Grogu is he has to use the terminal. Migs can't do it because they can't see his face because they might recognize him. So it has to be a face they don't recognize, but then the terminal will not actually allow him to use it unless you actually show your face.
Yeah. And Grogu's that important to him. He'll
Yeah,
do it.
his training never prepared him for
Yep.
this scenario. It seemed like his training had prepared him for every scenario except this.
Yeah.
So we get the very first time in second season here, we have a situation where he actually has to show his face. It's 7 episodes into the season, and we get to see our lead actor for the very first time.
Yeah. So it is actually him. We weren't lied to the whole time.
Well, in that scene.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, good point
Yeah.
for this scene. Yeah.
But how is he in the system? Like, how does it recognize his face?
Yeah, I think that's a convenience that it didn't have to be a specific face. It just had to be a face.
And any
Some
face.
face.
It's like when you have a phone unlock with the fingerprint. It's like, you have a finger? Any finger will do.
Any face will do.
Yeah.
Yes. That machine is very serious, though, about getting that, because it's just going to like shut down.
Yeah.
I don't know, like if you put in your wrong PIN number in the ATM, it doesn't like collapse or anything.
What I'd like to know is, why is he clean shaven except for the mustache? Shouldn't he be a lot more scruffy?
Right?
Shouldn't he look like the guy from the Iron Mask or whatever?
Right, exactly.
Really
Yep.
disgusting looking.
Yep.
Maybe he can't grow facial hair on the side
Yeah,
too.
perfectly,
Touches.
I have that problem, so maybe it's.
yeah,
Well, maybe
extremely
he just
presentable
shaves every night.
looking.
We just don't see it on camera.
I cannot grow a beard to save my life.
The design of the helmet, there's just too much chafing here, so
Yes.
you can only leave. I got it.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
he's lived in a helmet for several years now, and he takes it off, and that's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Here's your Office Space reference.
Now, I'm getting a little sick of the
Secret
Imperials
reports.
being made to look stupid. I mean, come on. This is what they come up with. Their cover is ridiculous. This is not fair to the Imperials. We've panned them too much. It's not cool.
No, I understand bureaucracy. I work in government myself, so all you gotta do is just act like you're supposed to be there. If you got this superior officer, you do what you can until the conversation's over. Sometimes
That's the premise for Star Wars, pretty much, right? Whether you're in a Death Star or aboard an enemy ship.
right. You just need a drink to smooth things
Put
up.
a uniform on and don't even look, clean shaven.
Well, I mean, that's even the first Star Wars, right? Like our heroes dressed up in stormtrooper outfits to go rescue Leia.
Yep.
Pretty typical.
So this actor, I had to look it up because I forgot his name. Richard Brake is who plays Valen Hess. He was the Night King on Game of Thrones for most of the series, and then he ended up leaving for the last couple seasons to do something else. But a creepy looking dude.
Yeah,
That's for
I mean, I
sure.
know I've seen him in other stuff as well. So
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to see a little bit more about Imperial life here, right? Like they're not all just marching around from one place to another. Occasionally, they'll
Good
stop.
dudes will buy you a drink.
It's just like military.
Did a great job getting through.
Yeah.
Celebration.
Yeah, we see the New Republic bar in season 3, so why doesn't the Empire have one? There you go.
They need
Cafeteria
liquor
and
too
fun.
out in the. What else are you going to do out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
Hostile places,
But I like Fennic and I like Cara Dune in this because they're like, just working together. And they're like, you get the cannons, you get the guards, let's do this, we're just gonna wait. But they're like, no nonsense. They're not out there painting their nails, trading gossip. They're like, mission, we're focused, we're gonna get it done. What's taking these guys so long? That's awesome.
So they refer to Operation Cinder, which is in the Battlefront 2 video game. And what that was, it was this weapon that worked like satellites that like networked together and shot things down to destroy the surface of a planet. So picture like the Death Star, but not like a massive thing, like a network of satellites doing that kind of damage. And it was like chaos because the Empire used it. Like this was right after the Death Star 2, so the Empire was like, it was like chaos like they were killing their own people and whatnot. So apparently Mayfeld didn't appreciate that.
Was he there?
That's what he said.
How could you survive something like that?
I don't know.
Don't know. Just outside the blast, I
It
guess.
could, yeah.
There's always
Maybe.
someone who lives to tell the tale.
Right. Well, if you think about when they tested the Death Star in Jeddah, you know, some of those guys made it off the planet before it was all wrecked. So
Yeah, I was just skimming this guy's IMDb, and yeah, he's got an extensive list of credits. Like,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
he's been in tons of stuff.
But this is good character work right here. Like, I
Yeah.
love the,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
the-
Mayfeld, dude, you can kind of see him. It's stirring up in him, right?
You can see it in his face.
Yeah, how he
He
really
couldn't take it
feels.
anymore.
Yeah, he just told him how he felt.
just looks at him and he's
No,
like,
I
"Oh,
don't. Why do
nothing
these
to
guys
say.
sit here forever and not do anything? That one guy at least
I
tries
mean,
to pick up a rifle.
The indignation from Din, because I mean, you know, he's had to take his helmet off. I mean, something that is literally against his religion. I mean, it is like
I never say face.
the most heinous thing he
That's
can
cool.
do in his sense of morality and his code.
Yeah.
And Migs couldn't handle an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Nate really gave him a hard time in the transport, but here he shows he's actually a pretty good guy. He gets what he did, why he did it.
yeah."
I never saw your face.
It reminds me of Han in the Death Star when he shoots a thing and he's like, boring conversation anyway, and it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
time to scramble.
Well, but the thing is, Migs did it because he couldn't. I mean, it was an uncomfortable conversation. The guy just was so
Yep.
distasteful to him that he couldn't stand being 3 feet away from him anymore. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, from a strength of character thing,
Yeah.
the difference, the gulf between Din and Migs, you know.
Yeah.
You know, what Din just had to endure for the success of the mission, and Migs couldn't take an uncomfortable conversation with a guy.
Yeah, but it's more than uncomfortable. Like, it's heart wrenching for him. I mean, those are his comrades in arms, and this guy's like, hey, they're just cannon fodder. You do what you got to do because the Empire's right, and we have to rule. You know, basically. So it's like that he couldn't stomach it anymore, and that's hard as well. So I appreciate that Star Wars is broaching this kind of topic. You know, instead of just
kind of
bad guys.
the horrors of war and kind of what it does to people, right? How they really feel about it.
Exactly.
It's not always about some big ideological thing, but it's about friends you've lost,
and they tackle both of those ideological concepts and the horrors of war in this.
Yeah.
And what's is not just an action episode, or something that is just a lead up to a season finale. This one does have some meat in it.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
And with the casting for the show, it's another case where they're like, they brought in someone who's traditionally a comedian for this very serious role, a very serious moment there, and it works for the series. And here's another one. He's just like, I hate these guys.
I actually hate these guys totally now. I'm gonna.
Mm-hmm.
He left that part of his life behind, and he wants
nice shot. I mean, they had to give him props for that. They had to give him respect for the fact that he made that shot.
Yeah,
it was a good shot. He knew what to hit. You need to make a chain reaction explosion there.
Yeah. And now the TIE fighter chase.
gotta have a TIE.
He's not worried about them.
If we could only bring the audio back for one scene in this series, Michael, I can only have the audio going. It would be right here.
Yeah. Whoever thought we'd see Slave One?
Nice callback.
Whatever it's called now. Yeah. Take on some. Oh, that's a pretty sick weapon. That's awesome,
right?
Yeah. Again, fulfilling all of our dreams of what Boba Fett could be.
Just what we reenacted in our backyards
and you'd make that sound. James, you want to make the sound?
Oh, I don't know if I could do it now.
All right, here we go. Boom.
That's the thing with Star Wars. They always have great sound, right? Like in a couple of the Star Wars movies, they've used that type of weapon in like a asteroid field.
Yeah. It was
it's kind of that delayed shock wave or whatever sound. Yeah.
Mr. Ben Burtt is also a maestro.
Yeah.
Yeah. For people that say there's no sound in space, I mean, come on. There's awesome sounds in space.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is good character moment right here. They're like, it's a good thing Mayfield didn't make it back. First, he's probably like, are they going to shoot me right now?
Right.
Yeah.
All that for nothing, and now they double cross me.
Right?
She's kind of screwing with him a little bit.
Right? He's
Kinda
kind of making him
funny.
think maybe I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to keep looking at Mando, not looking at you. Get out of here.
Well, yeah, but the important thing is what she did, which is that she basically just let him off and said, hey, as far as the records are going to show, you died in that explosion.
Yep.
He earned her respect.
Yeah.
And mission complete. Very nice.
Okay, so they
Found
know
everybody in
where
the side quest.
they got the data where Moff Gideon's holding Baby Yoda.
Yeah, they downloaded that real quick from that terminal there to get the information they're looking for.
Yeah.
And there he is.
Yep.
There's the information we're looking for. Still keeping Baby Yoda in those tiny handcuffs.
Right. Yeah. But we don't see him. You just infer he's there. But this Mando repeating Moff Gideon's lines from the season 1 finale. Did he write that down at the time, or it was just like burned into his head? It's like, I'm going to use his own speech against him.
Maybe he's got like a recorder in there, recorder in his helmet when he needs it.
Like those dashboard cams that just record the last 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Could save what you want.
Oh,
he's coming for you, dude. Coming for you, Moff.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
So you can see they're directed by Rick Famuyiwa. Pretty good episode. He and the director, he kind of got a promotion for season 3 of Mando because Filoni was off working on the Ahsoka series. So I feel like that episode sped by, even without Grogu in the picture. I think it went by really quick.
Yeah, he definitely looms over the plot. He's the MacGuffin that they're chasing now, and so they'll go through everything they need to get him back. Right, like Mando is willing to take off his helmet if it means that he can get to Moff Gideon and get Grogu back. So that just shows the bond that he has with him.
Yeah, and they're even willing to give Mayfeld a shot at it, right? And he redeems himself.
And it's not just Mando too, right? Like Fennic, Marshall Dune, all on his side because they love Baby Yoda and they want him to be safe.
Yep. Baby Yoda's the tie that binds them all together, I guess. Even though they all have different agendas and different kind of directions they're going in their military careers or whatever.
Yeah. Fun episode. It was good. Dale, what was your favorite part? What spoke to you most?
I thought that the chase scene on the tank. We've seen variations of that throughout Star Wars and Indiana Jones, of course, but I thought that was unique enough to show Mando in it didn't look like him. Obviously, he was wearing someone else's armor, but it was a pretty cool action scene. The dialogue in their little cafeteria or whatever, I thought was interesting too. But for me, I think this episode had really good action and made me not even think of the Grogu character, I guess.
Michael, how about you?
I mean, it's for me getting to see Din's face again and actually have Pedro Pascal acting in the show that bears his name as the star, actually getting to see our lead actor's face for an episode for the first time all season. Yeah.
And I know it's one thing.
And also the drama of him having been put in that position, the emotional turmoil for him of being in this scenario that, it's his only choice. I mean, basically his choices are, run and no longer pursue his goal of saving, the baby at that point. And he has to make the hard choice, and he does. And we know how excruciating it is for him. And so the drama in his mind for that, I think, is very powerful.
Yeah.
That's one of the tropes of superhero movies that I know you told me about, right? Is you pay the money for this actor, you don't want them to be wearing a mask the whole time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, unless it's season 3, in which he never removes his helmet once the entire season. Pedro Pascal was never on the set for the entire season.
Yeah.
I think it's still a successful show, even if you don't get to see the heroes. So because it's the characters, the nuance, it's his acting, it's all of his body language, and I think that's fascinating that you can enjoy this show even if it's just body language and him not even in his own armor, right? Mando wouldn't even look like Mando in this episode, and we still loved it. So what's the core of this show that we really love and that keeps you coming back week after week, right? Like, you may not, like season 3 as much as 1 or 2, but what is that that's core that it says Star Wars and that keeps you coming back for more? For me, it's the characters. It's somebody who you like and you root for, and it's an escape that brings you joy when you watch it. It can't always be just up, 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 up. In any good storytelling, you have to have those moments where your heroes seem like in trouble, and you have these points in the plot where things are going wrong for your heroes, as I like to joke with my friend. Like, what's the part that's sad?
It essentially puts his character, the character of Din Djarin the Mandalorian, in a different category. It puts him in the kind of the same category in terms of a performance of, like, a stop motion character or a CGI character, or a character where the voice is a big part of the performance, the body language is a big part of the performance. The performance is created through things other than an actor emoting with their face. And it's definitely
much better than Jar Jar.
We wouldn't care about him. We wouldn't care about the show if the body language and the voice was not carrying the character through for several seasons. Yeah, we know it's the character because I'm sure that in the other armor, it's the same stunt actor who is normally in his armor, so that the body language, the fighting style, and everything is recognizably Din Djarin.
That's what we come back for. That's what makes it a success.
Yeah. So this episode was 38 minutes, which that was the average for season 1, but season 2 is episodes have been longer. The average is 51 minutes. So do you think 38 minutes is the most we can go without Grogu, or do you think if they did a stretch of longer, after how many episodes would we be like, I need to see the child, I need to see Baby Yoda in here?
I mean, I think length of the episode. I mean, we had an even shorter one. There was one that was like 31 minutes a couple episodes ago. I think it's really the amount of time it takes to tell the story being told.
Good point.
I think they can go a little bit longer because they're really delving into the character arcs here, right? Mayfeld, this is kind of an episode for him to kind of show his redemption, and again, the Mandalorian's putting all this crew together that all have a tie-in with Grogu, and they all have different styles, different backgrounds. I always find that really fun and fascinating. So I think you could do even longer of an episode in this particular case.
Yeah,
just showing how they interact and like probably how they don't get along, but again, they have this common thing, this common mission, so they kind of put that aside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I was just thinking about stuff we could have seen in this, like more of the animosity between Cara Dune and Mayfeld, or Boba Fett. He didn't really do. He was just in the background the whole time, and we never saw the hostility from the natives on this planet and the mining and all that. So they could have shown us a lot more, but I think they just kind of went straight at it. I don't know.
I mean, in this episode, Boba Fett's basically an Uber driver.
Yeah.
An Uber driver who could take out 2 TIE fighters with one weapon, but still an Uber driver. That's the most badass Uber driver ever. Okay.
Yes.
So before we wrap up, I have one quick question here. So the title of the episode is The Believer, right? So I'm trying to just puzzle through who and what is that referring to, right? So like I see in this episode kind of that character arc and redemption of Migs, and you see the passion of Mando and what he will do in order to get back Baby Yoda. And you see Fennic Shand and Cara Dune as supporting their friends and helping because they, love Grogu and want to reunite him with Mando. So where and how is the believer a part of this episode? I'm dumbfounded.
Maybe they're all believers.
That's what I was about to say. I think it's similar to how later on we talk about that the Mandalorian is not necessarily Din Djarin. It can be referring to other characters at different times. I think multiple characters in this episode are the believer. I think each one, like Cara Dune now is a marshal of the New Republic. I mean, Din is now believes in his pursuit of finding Grogu, and I think Migs was a believer in the Empire and now has lost that belief, and is confronted with, by being back among the Empire of how much, that belief has now been lost to him by the experiences that he's had, and how soured he's become and how much he lost the belief. So I think in different aspects, in different ways, it refers to multiple characters in the episode.
Good point. I think there's a few characters that are, considering how the ends justify the means. Cara Dune is willing to work with someone that was an Imperial. Din is willing to take off his helmet in front of other people. Boba Fett is willing to be that Uber driver for a little while. So I think that's a good point. It's not just Din or just Mayfeld. It's a lot of characters.
Maybe more of a concept than a character for this one. Very nice.
Yeah, I think it's the theme. It's the theme of the episode.
Awesome. So speaking of episode, we've got another episode coming up next week, the season 2 finale, which is called The Rescue, chapter 16.
Anyone want to make a guess on what happens? Yes.
I think I understand that title.
Yeah.
Definitely less ambiguity involved in there.
Yes, it's not called The Rescuer. Or the rescuers. That Disney's already done that. So
now we should note that when these episodes first appeared on Disney Plus, they made a point of that they appear in the middle of the night. I believe it's a certain time, Pacific time, and when they appear in the morning, if you go to watch it, they don't have the title on it, so that you are not spoiled by the title. The title does not appear till at the earliest later that evening. So it gives a full couple of hours for people to see it on their feed in Disney Plus or to see it on the page in Disney Plus and not have the title in any way spoil what's going to happen in the episode. That was definitely, I think, a smart, yet somehow frustrating thing for them to do, for some of these episodes that you just knew it's the next chapter of The Mandalorian is out, but you don't know anything about it. You have to watch it, unless you wait till the next day and then you'll see it with the title.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when Lucasfilm got burned, so to speak, by the title on the episode 1 soundtrack. Was it Qui-Gon Jinn's Noble End? Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Yes.
So next week, The Rescue.
Yes. Coming up next week, in between shows, if you'd like to hang out, you can join us on Facebook at Rocky Mountain Fan Force. You can even send us a message if you like, facebook.com/Rocky Mountain Fan Force, or you can see us on YouTube at Binging the Force. If you just are listening to us, we're on all of your podcast clients as Binging the Force, and we even have our own merch, which James has got pictured down here. That's at bingingtheforce.myspreadshop.com. So what else? Michael, any Galacticon news this week?
Nothing new right now. I mean, that's more guests to come, more exciting guest reveals, and we're just ramping up and meeting with all the teams and figuring out the details on how to put on the best event that anyone's had in a long time.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
So if anybody wants to join us, we do monthly get-togethers too. We'll have another event on August 19th. We're going to probably have a pizza party at my place. And just keep an eye on the events tab at Rocky Mountain Fan Force on Facebook, and hope to see you there.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you next week for the season 2 finale, The Rescue.
This is
Take
the
care.
way.
See you guys.
Next time.